FHA financing in 2022. Hi, I'm Kevin Jefferson, the People's Lender, NMLS number 1433853. So in this video, we're going to discuss the guidelines and rules for FHA financing in 2022. So what we're going to discuss is guidelines and things that we need to know pertaining to FHA financing in 2022. First of all, FHA is not a first-time homebuyers program. FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. With FHA financing, the minimum credit score is 500. However, with a 500 credit score, you need to have 10% down. So between 500 and 579 credit score, you need to have 10% for a down payment. Where you get to the point where you put 3.5% down is when you have a 580 credit score or better. Typically 640 is where FHA sweet spot is, where you don't have things called overlays, which are guidelines that stop you from getting to the next point. FHA does, a common mistake is that FHA does not fund your loan. The lender that you go through funds your loan. FHA guarantees the loan for you. So what happens is, if down the line, if you were to lose your home and FHA would get it back, they would pay off the lender, they would take the house back, and then that's where you get HUD homes from. So FHA does not finance your home. They guarantee it for the lender, and the lender has to meet their guidelines in order for them to guarantee and to back that loan. There are no maximum credit scores for FHA, so people tend to think that FHA are for lower credit scores. That's not always the case. You can have an 800 credit score and still go FHA. It just depends on your circumstances. FHA is typically more lenient when it comes to credit history. If you have a 30-day late, sometimes even a 60-day late, if you have a higher credit score, that will help compensate for that mishap on your credit. With FHA loans, they don't count medical debts. So if you have a medical bill of, let's say, $3,000 that you owe, or collectively that you owe, that does not go against you with FHA. However, if you do have let's say a Verizon bill and a Sprint bill, and those two bills are equivalent to more than $2,000, FHA does ding you for that. So you have an option of paying off the bill. You have an option of using 5% of the debt. So 5% of the $2,000, if each one's $1,000 a piece, 5% of those, which goes into your debt to income ratio. And in this video, you probably hear me say DTI, that's debt to income ratio. And then you can work out a payment plan. So if you work out a payment plan with Verizon and it's $50 a month, we can utilize that payment plan into your debt to income ratio to help you get around not qualifying for a house because you have a collection. FHA also will allow for you to have a repo on your credit as long as it says charged off. So how you get qualified depends on how that repossession is reported on your credit. So if a report says a repo, it's similar to a collection where you have to use either pay it off, 5% of that collection, or get on a payment plan and make payments. But if it says, if it was a repossession and it says charge off, it doesn't count against you because the creditor has charged off that debt. So it no longer counts against you. What you do have to check for, though, is if that deficiency from the repossession was sent to a collection agency and it's reporting on your report again. But that's something that us as the lenders can take a look at and help you with. Another thing the FHA does is if you have a deed in lieu of, where you were in a foreclosure situation and you gave the deed back to the lender. If you were in a short sale situation, a short sale is where the bank is shorted funds and you end up selling the house for less than owed. Example, if the house was worth $250 and you owe $300,000 on it, then that's a short sale. The bank shorted funds. Or if you had a foreclosure where you lost a home and the bank took it back and went to FHA, then you could buy another home. You would just have to wait a 3-year period from when the property transferred ownership. Now, you can also have had Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, with Chapter 7 bankruptcy, there is a 2-year waiting period from the date of your bankruptcy's discharge. Not 2 years from when you filed bankruptcy, but 2 years from when it was discharged. And once it was discharged and that 2-year period has come up, the following day, you have the ability to apply for an FHA mortgage as long as there was not a house included in the bankruptcy. If you have done a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you can also apply for FHA financing. You will need to have made 12 on-time payments in your bankruptcy, and it's also dependent upon you receiving approval from your bankruptcy trustee. In that process, it's a little backwards, as I would think. You need to get pre-approved by a lender. You need to get under contract, and then you submit the contract and the fees and everything to your trustee of your bankruptcy for he or she to approve your bankruptcy. If you have an IRS lien, this is key. You can purchase a home even if you owe the IRS money. The IRS is a government entity and FHA is a government entity. However, if you either satisfy the debt for the IRS that you owe, or you're in a payment plan, you can purchase a home. Now, in order for you to purchase a home with a payment plan, you need to make 3 on-time payments that are set up in your payment arrangement. So let's say your payment arrangement was $350 a month. You need to have made 3 payments of $350 separately. You cannot make them all at one time and say, I paid 3 months in advance. You have to make them 3 separate payments in order for it to qualify. Student loans with FHA, they made a guideline change in 2022 that you can now have a income-based repayment plan, and that count as a payment as long as the payment is higher than 0. So if your student loans are deferred or you have a 0 payment, we have to use 0.5%. So if your student loans are $100,000 and typically it would be 1% of that balance, that would have been $1,000. But with the new rule change, now the 0.5% takes that $1,000 payment to $500. So that is huge. However, if you have an income-based repayment plan and the income-based repayment plan says that you pay $100 a month, we are allowed to utilize that. If that is not the case and you don't have a payment, then you want to try to reach out to your student loan servicer to see if you qualify for an income-based repayment plan, because that's typically going to be less than the 0.5% that you would utilize. If you want more information, a deeper dive into the qualifications for student loans, check out my video that's linked below on FHA and student loan guidelines. Seller's credits. So the seller has the ability to give you up to 6% of the sales price. So if you're purchasing a $200,000 house, the seller has the ability to give you 6% of that sales price, which is $12,000. Now, what you have to keep in mind is that the $12,000 that the seller would be contributing to your closing costs would come from their proceeds. So this is a negotiation piece. You don't have to ask for 6%. They can give 1%, or it could be a number. Let's say it was $5,000. It could be $5,000 as long as it does not exceed 6% of the sales price. Another thing that FHA is a great opportunity for, if you're looking to get into multifamilies, with an FHA loan, you can qualify for a 1 to 4 family as long as one of the units you live in as a primary residence. So if you buy a quadruplex, which is 4 units, and you live in one of the units, you can rent out the other 3 units and collect rent on them. So that's a great opportunity to get started in investing with FHA. You have to stay in that house for at least 1 year, and you can rent and repeat. The next year you buy a 3 unit, you refi out of the 3 unit into conventional, and then you buy a duplex. You refinance out of the duplex into conventional financing, and then by that time, those units that you purchased, the quad, the duplex, and the triplex, should be able to make a large contribution to your single family home of your dreams. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you have any other questions pertaining to FHA financing, please leave a comment below.